Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and record now. You can continue to work on that homework on your own time, but submit whatever you have as soon as you can right on the spot, whatever you have right now. So we did this, I think, last Thursday, or we tried to do this. It was given an array of numbers and a target integer. Find the three integers in nums such that the sum is closest to the target. Return the sum of the three integers. Assume that the input would have exactly one solution. So give array of numbers over here, -1, 2, 1, -4, and the target 1. We're adding these three numbers, then -4 and these two numbers, and then 2, 1. I think that's it. So over here, what I did was I just wrote down the target. I put this array down, and then I did all the possible combinations, right? So 1, 2, 1, -4. Well, -1, 2, 1. That's one combination of three numbers from the above four numbers. And then 2, 1, -4 is a combination. And then 1, -4, -1 is another combination. And then -4, -1, 2 is another combination. And then if you add them all up, you get 2, -1, -4, -3. And if I subtract them from 1 and take the absolute value, which is just the positive, you just change the sign to it, I get 1, 2, 5, 4. And this is the smallest difference, right? So they're asking if you add up, find every combination of three numbers in this array, add them up, and then see how far away that number is from 1, right? So is 2 closer to 1 or is -2 closer to 1? 2 is closer to 1, right? -2 is far, right? -2 is 3 units away from 1. What about -1 versus 2? Which one's closer to 1? -1 or 2? 2. -1's far, right? -1 is 2 units away from 1. So you got to think back to the number line, right? If I put this number on the number line, I put this number on the number line, and put this number on the number line, how many distance between those two numbers on the number line? So this is how what's smallest, what the smallest difference is. Now to write this, we need a way of getting those combinations. So over here is a very straightforward way, right? So this is one combination. This is another combination. And we have this and this, that's another combination. And then we have this and this right here. So we're just like looping through the array to get all the combinations. So the first it's 0, 1, index 0, 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, then 2, 3, 0, then 0, 1. Those are all the combinations in that array, right? So once we have combinations, right, then it's just a matter of adding up those numbers, taking the difference, and finding this difference. That's it. So now to write this. So get some target, I'm using ES6, array, and target, right? I have to take the array, I have to take the target, and then I'm making these variables over here, index x2, index 3. I didn't write this top to bottom. It took me some time to write this, like the way it is right now. I didn't write this like this line, then this line, then this line, this line, then this line. It took me some time to get to this stage. So I had this right here, close to sum, right here. And I'm looping through the array, right? And over here, I'm getting index 1, right? And I'm modding by array length. I'm modding by the array over here. So there's a specific reason why I'm doing that, right? Because on the first iteration, I is what? I is 0, right? And then 0 mod the array. What's the length of the array? 4, right? What's 0 mod 4? 4. Well, it would be 4 if it was like, if it was 7, right? 7 mod 4 is, I'm sorry. It was, so how many times does 4 go into 0? 0. What's left over? 0. So it's 0. So any number modded a number bigger than it is just going to be the number, right? So 1 mod 4 is going to be 4. I mean 1. 2 mod 4 to be 2. 3 mod 4 is going to be 3. 4 mod 4 is not, 4 isn't smaller than, right? So it's going to be, what is this going to be? 0, right? There's 0 left over, right? So by doing the I mod 4, it's going to be basically I, right? This is basically I. And then over here, I'm doing I plus 1 mod 4, right? So in this first iteration, I plus 1 is 1. 1 mod 4 is 1. And then over here, I'm doing 2, I plus 2. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 mod 4 is 2, right? So this seems stupid. It's like, why don't I just do I plus 1, I plus 2, right? Like, why am I modding by array length, right? I actually started with just I plus 1, and I plus 2. I started off that way, but it didn't work, right? Because it's to get to, exactly, right? So it works over here, and then it works over here, right? 1, 2, 3, right? Because when I is 1, you add 1 to it, you get 2. When you add 2 to it, you get 3. But then as soon as you get here, it does not work anymore, right? Because when I is 2, you add 1 to 3, that's fine. But then you add 2 to it, you get 5. 5 is not an array, right? But here's the thing, though. 5 mod 4 is what? I'm sorry, wait. This is 0, 1, 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 2, 2 is 4. When you do 4 mod 4, what is that? 0, so we get down. Now, when the I is 3, 3 mod 4 is 3. 4 mod 4 is 0. 5 mod 4 is 1. Right? So that's how I get all these indices right here, by modding by the length array. Right? And so as soon as I have indices, I just add the elements together, get the sum, and then I get the value of the sum minus the target, which is the current sum difference target. And then I check if close to target sum is undefined, meaning it was never set. I need to set a number into it. Or if cur sum diff target is less than the current one up here, right? And so if it is, then I'm going to set close to target sum different targets. Damn it, I can't even read these variable names, but I'm going to set this one. I was trying to name it like appropriately, and then just return the result over here. The key was this. This was the key right here. And the only way you would ever, ever, ever come to this conclusion if you write this out. If you didn't write this out, you're not coming to the conclusion. It's not happening. No way you're gonna come up with that code unless you have this right here. If you don't understand this right here, and you're not gonna come up with that code. So the key is to kind of like do some brainstorming, right? When you're doing these problems. This right here, doing some brainstorming is key. And this is a medium level problem on LeetCode. So it is relatively hard. Questions on this? Send this over to you guys. I included the link to the LeetCode problem over here. If this was challenging, definitely make a flashcard, right? Practice this, right? Because you know when you'll have to find, you have to like do the search through an array and get a combination of 3 or a combination of 2 or a combination of 4, right? You never know when you'll have to do that on an interview, so having that is super important. Questions? 301. So I 3 here, right? And then 3 mod 4 is what? 3 mod 4 is 3. Any modded, a higher number is 3. right? Because let's do that again. 3 mod 4. How many times does 4 go into 3? 0, right? What's left over? 3. Yeah, so that's why 3 mod 4 is 3. Yeah. And then 3 plus 1 is 4. So 4 mod 4 is what? Good. And then 3 plus 2 is 5. Mod 4 is what? Oh, I said 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 mod 4 is what? 1, right? And that's how I got the last one right here. It was not easy for me to do this by any means. I had to like think a lot. Yeah, like wow. Mm. Yeah, it would work with anything. You just have to change a bit, right? So if it was 5 numbers, then, well, we would assume that there was at least 5 numbers in it, right? Then you would just do 3, right? Yeah, this would work completely. With 5, if you need 5 numbers, and in an array of 4 numbers, can you get a combination of 5? Is that what you're asking? Oh, you're saying in an array of 5, can you still get a combination of 3? Yeah, array of 5. Yeah, this would still work, right? Because like you're just getting numbers. In a yeah, I think this should work. To think about it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it would make it harder depending on how you change the problem up. These are hard problems, and you will not succeed at these interviews in practice, right? And if you're having trouble with these, they're hard, right? They're just hard. So you just have to practice. And if you do one problem or something like that, you'll get really, really, really good at these, like extremely good. Or one every 2 days, or one problem every 3 days. You'll just eventually get really good at these problems. All right, so that was that problem. And let's see over here. I'm going to go over React props. So what I'm going to do is going to open up a previous thing right here. Do yarn install. Okay, and then do yarn start. Okay, so now let's make a folder. Well, not a new folder. I'll make a new file. So over here, I'll make a new file. We'll say footer.js. And over here, stateless component example React. Well, never mind. Let's see. we go. All right, so we'll return a div bottom with the word footer. That's it. And so now let me go into, we'll call this footer, into app.js. It's the same app that we had before. And I will import this footer. Import, let's see, I exported by default, so I don't have to put curly brackets around it. Footer from footer. Good. And now I can just render this footer. I wish I had auto detection. Put the footer at the bottom. Oh wait, I would do footer like this. Yeah. So now let me see if that works. Yep. You guys see at the very bottom? It says footer now. So what's the purpose of putting some JSX in another file? How does that help us? Reusability, right? We use that footer multiple places. Also, it makes our code a little bit better when it's not so long, right? And if you're working with a team of people, you can reduce merge conflicts, right? If Nick was working on the footer and Sandy was working on the form, right? They're not going to cause a merge conflict because they're both working on separate files. So it's helpful to break down files for reusability, as Haven said, and to merge conflicts and make your code a little bit easier to read and manage, and reduce merge conflicts. So that right there is how we separate files out, right? You just put the file in a separate thing. And over here, this is called the stateless component. Why is this called the stateless component? Nice. Right. There's no this.stay. Good job, Sandy. Right? There's no this.stay, so it's a stateless component. Whereas in our previous one, that was the interview thing, right? This is a state component. Because, you know, Sandy would say, this has this.stay. So you can make a stateless component have a class, right? So over here, this doesn't have a class, right? And matter of fact, I could probably make this ES6 and see if that still works. What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong here? No. Damn it. It's not defined. It is. Oh, let. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I just forgot the let. So you could write it. You could write it with if you wanted to, but it's overkill. Right? You have to write a lot more. You have to write a lot more work. You have a stateless component, and you wanted to write it with the word class. Right? You would basically do this here, except you wouldn't have this.state. Right? You wouldn't have this. Wouldn't have any functions. Maybe you have some functions, but you'd have to have a render function too. Questions so far? I haven't gone over props yet.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you would have to import React end component if you're going to have a class. If you're going to use the word class, but if you're going to use a stateless component, you just have to React. That's it. Good question, or good point. All right, so over here now, if let's say I want to customize the footer, right? We'll put in. We could actually add a prop, right, which is kind of like an attribute for our component. So we could put in num, right? Num equals 3, right there. And so over here, I could do this.props.num, and it should show the number 3. And it didn't. That's what I do wrong. 3. What did I do wrong? Can I read some undefined? Okay, let's see. This dot props. The props.num? Yeah, it's props.num. That was this dot props.num, but the reason why it's not this dot props.num is because that was in a class and it would be this dot props.num, but because I'm in a function, it's props.num, right? Which statement props.num. So what I did over here was I just passed in any name I want, right? And I pass in a value. And then I can access that inside this component by doing props.num. With this ability, we can customize our layout, our partials, right? This is kind of like a partial from EJS, and we can read this and customize it by using props. I can even trigger functions from props, right? So I could even pass in a function over here. So let me pass in a function test equals alert high, right? So this function right here, I can pass this function into the prop. So right here, I have TF. I'm passing in this dot. So I'm passing the function test. This function right here, I'm passing it to this footer. And this footer can call it now, right? So if I go into the footer, I can have a button. So Marisol asked, how do you know which name to put for the element tag? Is it based on the import name? Oh, I can anything I want here or here. Oh, this? Yeah, it's based on whatever I import at the top. You're right. The reason why I use the word footer is because right here, name of the function. Good question. So I'm passing in this test function to footer. And if I go into footer now, I can make a button. And I could say on click props.tf right here. And then when I click this button, it should trigger that TF function that we passed. So now let's try that. Damn it, what did I do wrong? Unexpected token JS tag ended. Oh, thank you. So then if I click this, it should say hi. It says hi, right? Function does not live here in the footer. Where does the function live? App.js, right? So we pass the app, we pass that function right here. Right here to the footer. Questions on this? Yeah, it's defined. No, not in the state. No, right here, outside the state. Sandy? Yeah, I guess it would be, right? Or if both people touched it, then yeah, it's always with if both people touch the line, and then that's the issue. But that's even more reason to break up things into multiple files. So it's going to be a rare case for you to both touch something. Questions on this? Props aren't that bad, right? They help you. You could break up your files, you could reuse things, and you can customize things. You could have the footer, you could have a button in the footer trigger inside an app, right? Yeah, these are separate files. Footer and app are separate files here. Yeah, and props are just num and tf, right? This is the prop. And then inside the footer, right here, to get to them, we do props.tf or props.num. We're taking props in right here. Yeah, footer is this is a stateless component. Yeah. stateless component, and then you would make another file called header.js, and you would break things down. Some people go crazy and they break things down really, really crazily. Or some people have like a button component. I hate that. I think that's crazy. I think it's too much. But there are people that it depends. Like it depends on your team. Whatever team you join, they're going to have their own way of doing things. Oh, what is it? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, so you would have a homepage.js file, and then you would have an about.js file, right? You would just have separate .js files for them. And there's something called React Router, which we'll explore a little bit. Like, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. React Router, so you can have routes inside React. They're not reals. They're kind of like fake routes, right? It'll tell you when you click about, it'll take you to the about.js component. Yeah, so you can use React Router. It's not that bad. But this week we're going to just focus on a full stack React and mobile app together with authentication. Other questions? Okay, so I'll send this out as soon as we go over the next part. So over here in the next part, this is a full stack React app with Express and Mongo. I'm gonna add the JWT tokens into this, but we'll first start with server.js. So your backend, and we have another question, one sec. Yeah, props are basically attributes. Can we have more than one stateful component? Yeah, you can have as many stateful components as you want. Yeah, so it's interesting. Client is your front end. Everything else is your back end, right? So your package lock, yarn lock package, node modules, right? So let me draw this. It's hard. Okay. Let's see. I save this? Oh, saved. Where was it saved to? Client is a folder. Yeah, it's a folder. Let me show this in Finder. I actually have this clear. Where did it go? Okay, so right, server.js is our backend, and the client folder is our front end. Right, meaning all your React stuff goes in client, and all of your backend stuff, your API, goes server.js. So now let's take a look at server.js. Right, so Morgan just provides us logs, descriptive logs to make it easier to log things. And over here, we have all the packages we're going to use: Express, Body Parser, Mongo.js, right? This line right here, this gets us ready to deploy. This entire app is ready to deploy on Heroku, right? And next week, we'll give you a guide on how to deploy, right? It's not that hard. You just have to run a few commands, essentially, to get it deployed on Heroku. So basically what this does is it looks for this. If this is there, env.port, then it's going to use this. If it's not there, it's going to use 3001. That's what it's going to do, right? So when is this going to be there? Well, it's going to be there when your app is running on a server, right? When your app is running on a server, there's going to be a port environment variable set with about. And we just set up Morgan, we set up Body Parser, we set up MongoDB, Jokes app. What did I write? Yeah. This is a jokes app to hold a bunch of jokes, right? We connect to MongoDB right here. And this right here, I am basically writing some code over here to enable cores. There is another way of doing this with the, I actually just showed it to Qua, right? This is the longer way. There is a package called cores that you just like lines and does this. If you don't have this here, your React app won't have any access to the server, right? Like any of the routes, all the data from the routes, it won't have access to. You need to enable cores here. Or so the reason why you've never had this before is because every time you wrote an Express app, your front end was in your Express app. They were both served on the same port. But now your React app's going to be on a different port, and your backend is going to be on a separate port. It's two separate ports. So because they're running on two separate ports, for them to communicate to one another, right, you need to enable cores over here in this server, backend server. If they're on the same port, you don't have to worry about it. But if they're on two separate ports, you have to worry about it. Right? The reason why this exists is to protect your website from people trying to access your API. Right? They won't be able to access your API unless you enable this. So how do you protect your site if you enable cores? You have to have API keys. API keys, and you throttle your API keys. So anytime someone hits your API, hits a route with your API, with that API key, you log that it was used, and then if it was used 5 times in an hour or something, you kind of like throttle them. You say that you can't use it for the next days or something like that. Okay, so now we have this right here. What does this route do? Juthka. Derek. Hmm? Hmm? Collection. And then what does it do on line 47? Good. Excellent. So when you go to /jokes, it goes to the jokes collection, jokes, returns them. Good. And then over here, I was just trying to show where the validation would break. What am I doing here? We could just skip this part here. I put some validation in to make sure that the key name is inside the body, the request.body, and I was making sure that the name was less than or equal to 1,000 characters, right? So I was just doing some back-end validation here, but I'm just skipping this part right here. Okay, where are we? Let's just close out of that. Yeah, so this is app.post/jokes, right? So can I access this in the browser? No, right? You can only make a curl call, an A call, something like that. And so over here, if it's valid, which it is, it's true, we're going to do what over here, Nick, Sandy? What are we doing on lines 80 through 87? Good, perfect. We're going to insert a joke into the jokes collection, right? This is the collection jokes. We're going to insert rec.body right into it. So doing this normally is not secure. They could put anything they want in rec.body. So that's why I had the validation over here to force them. It would force them to only have a name key that is set to a value less than 1,000 characters, right? So that's what the validation was there for. But I'm not going to go over it because I just get through all of this as fast as I can. And over here, this gets me one joke. Gets me one joke. So let's go over this route right here, Haven, Aaron, this one. Good, perfect, right? We're using rec.params.id to get an ID of a joke. And then we're doing db.jokes.find and filtering based on ID. We're getting that joke and we're sending it back to them, right? We're sending that one joke back right here. So this is just the API for like a CRUD, right? Create, read, delete jokes. We're just creating, reading, updating, and deleting jokes. Once I'm done with this, I'll add in the authentication with JWT token. So over here, let's go over this. Wow. We have the joke ID right here. Can I access this in the browser? No, right? I can only do call or curl call. And so what am I doing over here? I'm getting the ID right here from you. And then what about this code? Yeah, we're removing the joke, removing that joke from the collection. Good, right? We're using this ID to get that particular joke, removing it from the collection, and then we're sending back the joke ID. We're sending back the joke ID that we had here, that we removed. Okay, so going down over here, this route is going to update, right? That's why I have a put right here, update a joke based on a particular ID. So I'm going to get the joke ID. I'm going to get the body of the request, which is the joke. I'm going to find and modify a joke based on that particular ID. And then I'm going to update the name to whatever new name they have inside the body. Right here. And then I'm going to send back the updated joke on line 142. Okay, let's go down. Over here, what am I doing here and what's the purpose of it, Nick, Sandy? Running the app on a particular port, right? If we don't do this, then it's just, whenever we run it just ends, right? It's not going to keep running, right? Good. This is our back end right here. Go, Josh. Yeah, sure. Where do you recommend we pull the ID from? Yeah, so it's going to be your front end. So basically, you're going to have this right here. This route will get you all the jokes and all their IDs. And then your front end, you can make these delete button, right? In the delete button, you're going to have like a data-ID, okay, so, right? Yeah, so it's like the data element in there? Exactly, a data property. Hmm? Smart. No, that was the best way. There could be other ways, but that's the best way. All right, so our back end. You've done this time and time again, right? With MySQL, with Mongo, right? We've used Express a lot. So this isn't going to be the hard part, right? Express is going to be pretty standard. It's going to be the same no matter what apps you see across the room, right, that you guys make. It's going to be similar. The hard part is going to be the client side, right? But it won't be that bad. So in the client side, right, it's going to be the same deal. I have app.js. Let me minimize everything. So this is what app.js is going to look like. You're going to have a render. We're going to have a submit joke. We're going to have an update joke, a delete joke, and an edit joke function. Edit and update are kind of together, right? But they're two separate functions, and you'll see why. But then we have components and mount. Go ahead, Josh. Just use ES. It's going to be a lot easier. Yeah, ES5 is going to be much harder. No, and also no one uses ES5 anymore for React. They did in 2016, and 2016 people did use it, but lately, for the last, ever since 2016 now, everything on Stack Overflow is ES6. That's the reason why. You can. It's going to be totally different syntax. Yeah, so there's like a function that it's like create React component, and then you have to like run that function. It's something. That's the challenging part. Stack Overflow is not going to help you. I mean, it might, but not really. Yeah, I actually taught React first without ES6, and it was so hard because every time they had a bug, well, it was hard for me and the TAs. Every time someone had a bug, it was just like us. Like Stack Overflow really didn't have much, unfortunately. But then we just changed it all to ES6, and now everything was better because now you can use the internet to help you. And also everyone else uses ES6 in the Bay Area, so So componented mount. This is part of the React lifecycle. So the React cycle, where is it? I can spell that right, but there we go. This is a great article right here. This is the React lifecycle. And so we have, these are the lifecycle functions. This is part of React. This is React. So there's a component class that we extend, and all of these are part of that. So we have the constructor function. This is where we do what? What do we do in the constructor function, Qua? Well, that's generally what we do in a class, but in a React constructor, what do? We set state, right? We do this dot state, and we set the initial state. Good. And then we have these other functions over here, right? And really the most used one, componented mount. And that's funny that, yeah, componented mount, did mount right here. So it is, is a component actually on the page, right? Meaning, did the render function execute? Did that render function execute? So componented mount is like equivalent of saying document.ready. It's almost equivalent of document.ready, right? Is your ML loaded, right? That's what componented mount does. Read more about all the component lifecycle functions in this article. But the most used one is componented mount. So we'll first take a look at constructor, right? And over here we see I have three properties. I have jokes, which is A, right? And I have three joke properties right here, right? I have edit :false, right? Meaning I'm not currently editing any joke. And edit ID is 0, meaning I'm not currently editing any particular. I put this in afterwards, right? I didn't write this top down like this because I actually wrote this in first. I looped over this first, and then I started writing all the other stuff in. So let me just start this up. Go to client. To start this up, I have to start first. I'll do nodamon server.js. So that's running on localhost 3001. And then I'm going to go into client. I'm going to do yarn start, and that's going to load up on, crap, what did I do wrong? Let's say I didn't have a start command. Let's try this again. Yarn start, this doesn't work. Okay, it works now. Cool. All right, so here we go. I actually have this database already, so that's why it shows some stuff. So I'll just delete stuff here. And right here, let's put in a joke. We'll put in, I'll just put in A. And then I'll put in B, and then C. What's this right here? Aaron? It's the ID of the Mongo collection. Good. Right? So I edit A right now. Right? And this form right here, change it to AB. Change it to that. I'm going to click update. Update here. If I refresh this, it stays the same. Right? So it fully works. You CRUD right here. Read, update, and delete. Right now it says edit is false. If I click it right here, it says edit is true. I didn't create a cancel button. If I created a button, I could change edit to false. Right? I could change edit to false and then remove this from the input. But let's take a look at what happens here. Like, how does all of this work? Right? So the first thing we see is componented mount. And what this does right here is I'm using fetch, which is similar to jQuery or an Axios call or You know, I'm doing an Ajax query here, but it primarily uses promises. So I'm calling fetch slash, so it's going to hit slash jokes in the server right here. Even if it's on a separate port, right? Because servers on port 1, the React is on port 3000. So how am I not, like, I can use slash jokes here. The reason why I can is because in the package.json, in the package.json, the client folder, I have a proxy, right? So the proxy is proxying this localhost colon 3001. So that's what, so any do inside of app.js, where am I? So anytime I hit a route here, it's going to be localhost 3001 slash jokes because of that proxy in the JSON file. This is completely set up for you to use, right? You guys can use this. And so when I hit this route, I'm going to get all the jokes in res. I'm going to convert it to JSON. You have to do this here. It's unfortunate. But you always have to, whenever you're using fetch, right, the res is going to come back in a string format. And then I'm going to convert it to JSON. And it's going to return this value, right, this single line. And then I'm going to take this right here, which is basically all the jokes, and set state, this dot set state jokes right here. So that's how all of these jokes get set in the database. Right? I'm grabbing everything in the database, in the Mongo database, joke collection, and setting it right here on this line. Questions about that? Okay. So now we have our jokes in our state. All of our jokes from the slash jokes route that you guys explained right here. Right? We have all of our jokes from here, from our Mongo database. And so if I go down to render, right here, if I go back down to render, and I'll just format this to JSX. Over here, I'm mapping over, right? I have each joke right here. I'm making a paragraph tag for each joke. Each joke is going to have the joke ID displayed, the name of the joke, and then a button where if you click on it, right, if you click on this X button, it's going to trigger the joke function. And it's going to have another button right here. When you click on it, it's going to trigger the edit joke function. Okay, so I'm going to send this over to you guys to kind of look at a little bit with your partners, and we're going to continue to go over it. So let me get this over to you guys, everything we just did. And what we're doing throughout the week is adding a login system into this, and then adding a mobile app that kind of works also. Okay, so compress this. Oh wait, I didn't delete the node modules. 1 second. All right, so I sent out basically all the code for today's class. Qua, can you let me know when you have the jokes app running? So to run this jokes app, you need to have 2 terminal windows. Right, I need to do nodamon server.js, right, in this window. And then another window, and I'll keep this up while you guys are doing this. Oh, 03. Oh, man. So you need to run this in one terminal window, and then you do yarn start in another terminal window, but in the client folder. So in the second terminal window, I'm inside the client folder, I'm running yarn start. In the first terminal window, I'm inside the main folder of O3, and I'm running nodemon server.js to run both of them at the same time to run your application. Yeah, Qual, let me know when you're. You have yarn, then this is going to help you through. This is going to help you for your project because it'll be a full app, web and mobile. Mm-hmm. Both. I won't look, but it'll be for both. Because they both do things different. So if you really want iOS and Android, then you have to like kind of make separate 2 folders for it, an iOS one and an Android one. Because like the iOS will do certain like you have to put some margin on the top, because whatever you do will be at the top, whereas Android doesn't do that. That's like a minor difference. But then there's like other things like if you want to have like a navigation bar, it's different for Android versus iOS. It's totally different. It's totally different. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fine. Really? It shouldn't matter though, right? Oh, if you have your console open, just close out your console. Mm-hmm. npm install. So you could run yarn start or npm start. Nodemon start, nodemon server.js, or node server.js. Okay, we have some chat mess, I think. No, we don't. Very strange. Very strange. Oh, we're in this. We're in this. No, 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 you don't want to. And then it's easier to stand computer. Okay, so let's try to debug this. Here I see. How you doing?
I don't know. I think I have some kind of.
Hey, Qua. Can you see if you can help? Nick, thanks. Weird, because anytime I try to give the proper permissions to it, it just says that the directory doesn't exist, and that doesn't make any sense because we're in the directory. Yarn install. Yes, this is what we got. Yep, that's what we got. Try sudo yarn install. That's all. That's funny. Look at this. This guy's just trying to help, and then he gets like 39 downvotes. Oh my god.
Someone said yes.
Sudo did it. It worked, and he got 39 downvotes. Amazing. People suck. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm so careful when I try to help people. I try to say the right words. Do sudo? I don't think we have to do sudo. Why is it doing this to us? Change your password in? Oh, on port 3001. Localhost 3001/jokes. Yeah, so you could do localhost. Oh, I guess I turned it all off, but yeah, the server's running in 3000. In 3000. I think maybe you had another port. You had that app running on port 3000 by accident. Even if you didn't have it running in your terminal, it was probably running by accident in the background. So you killed. There's a way to kill something running on a port. You just have to look it up. It's like 2 commands, right? It's still saying out there. We'll just try yarn install again. See what happens. He gave us the same take care side. Same error.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of files. Didn't do anything now. Still there. Weird. Okay, now yarn install. Oh, works. All right. I guess we just deleted our node and that just worked. Okay, cool. Wait, why is it running on this port? Then now it's okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
What did you say to do again?
Just deleted the node modules, moved to trash,
Yeah.
delete the package lock,
Yeah.
the yarn error, and then try yarn install again.
Okay.
That worked.
Cool. What else to do again for this?
Oh, for this, I just wanted you to go into the main folder. You do yarn.
What did we do? We went to.
It was an
the second
O3.
one.
Yeah, you just clear yarn install on this main one, and node them on. It's the same. Give us the same bug.
Yeah. So probably just remove this.
Yarn install. Okay, and then node them on server, and then open up a new tab. So that's the end. Now we have to go into the front end, and I'm going to remove the package lock. I think that's the issue.
Okay.
Take care, buddy.
I'm gonna be on Saturday night. Will you help me with my cookie homework?
Yeah, totally.
I tried to push it ahead, and it's for whatever reason, said it wasn't able to.
It's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
This is just updating right here. Good. So we have it right here. And let's do a submit. Good. And then over here, we'll sorry, close out of that thing. And then we'll do lowest 3001/jokes. And this is your jokes API B. Okay. So now it'll all work.
All right, nice.
So now take a look at the server, the backend server, and the client.
Okay. What can I review for the React stuff?
Yeah. So let me see right here. YouTube, New Boston, React.
Yeah.
Really solid videos.
Just feels like I need to review it.
It is a lot, but you're gonna be. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah.
When you do your final project, if you want to use React, then you'll really understand it. Then
Yeah.
you'll be forced to.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and we're gonna be continuing to do this throughout the week. Yeah.
Okay.
Nick, you get it working?
I still have this. I don't know. This.
Derek, you good? Yeah, good. You have a question? What's your question?
So that proxy line on JSON.
Let me go. Proxy, yeah, let me just find it. The client folder package right here.
Did you manually enter this line?
I manually entered this.
Oh, there should be a package.json in the client.
Here, can I grab this for a second? In the
I
client?
just made an EN file.
Oh, you want to do? I'm going to delete the yarn error. Yarn lock. Delete the modules over here. Get rid of that.
You're throwing out the node module client?
I'm going to throw out everything. Help me. Can you delete that?
Yeah, just control delete. Control move.
Empty.
That's weird. I've never seen that delete immediately.
Delete. Delete.
All right.
Okay, so now delete this node modules.
Yeah. I can say it's great. So even like Sundays after class. Yeah.
Oh wait, where the fuck's the package file? Did we delete that?
Do an LS?
Where's that?
The package.json's there.
No, not there in the client folder.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a package.json in that folder. At least Quad didn't have one.
There should. I have one in client.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh darn.
Yeah, there should be.
Well, I can drag it back over from.
Did you delete it? So weird. Yeah, can you get that package? Just the package JSON file.
Okay, here's the arc. Here's what I downloaded from you, and then there's the package. You want the package.json in the client? Oh yeah, there's yeah.
Just the package.json.
Copy that.
Where are we?
This is from you.
Okay,
Given from you.
Cool. So we're here. Yarn install. Should work fine. It seems like, guys, the lock files must be deleted before you do yarn install.
Oh really?
Yeah, it seems like that was a weird bug that we got. Yarn starts.
That's what I was getting last time.
I'll fix it.
So the server is running over here, I guess. Yeah.
I'm confused.
You know,
here,
you need two tabs
I'm
open.
just gonna get out of
So
this.
number 6 is
Yeah, I think there's too many things.
Regardless of what it is.
Take care, Derek. Nick, well, why can't I get this?
well. That's the folder that you gave me.
This is the folder I gave you.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the okay. This folder right here is
No, actually, you want to be.
this is the folder that you.
That's where you drag the package.json into another folder.
Take care, guys. So kind of working token P of JSON. This is annoying as hell. New tab with current. Tab with current profile. There we go. What the hell? Oh, we're inside the trash. Why the fuck are we in this?
I don't know.
Nick,
Well, I don't know what you're doing. I can let's see. So